Hello, I am Kendra Kec, and I am very honored to accept this award from Equality Ohio as the Northwest Ohio Ally. My journey really started in 1980, unbeknownst to me. My father lived right down the street from the Art Tatum Zone. He was a father of 4 children. I was the youngest. I have fond memories of visiting him and his partner. My father divorced my mom sometime when I was around 4, and unfortunately, he passed away when I was in 2nd grade in 1980. We were told we couldn't talk about it. It was the shame of having a non-heterosexual man in the family. So I started my journey at a very young age, trying to understand what was going on and why we couldn't talk about my dad. In 7th grade, I remember asking the question to my mom, hey, Mom, was Dad gay? And now I realize I don't know that that's the right term that he would use to identify himself. But the answer was yes, and again, we don't talk about it. If anyone asks, he had a heart attack and he died. Loved my mom dearly. She is still with us and a wonderful single mom, and she went through a lot herself, as did my brothers and sisters. But again, the silence was there. It left me questioning, was I going to be gay? What does that mean for me? I can't tell anyone. They'll ridicule me if they know my father was gay. And so I still wondered, and I didn't speak of it to a soul until I got to college my freshman year. And I remember telling one of my longtime best friends that had known me since I was 3 or 4, my father was gay. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And I remember the LGBTQ association on campus as maybe my first outreach to really learn, why was my father being demonized for this reason? Why couldn't we talk about him? I knew he loved me. I remember the good times. I remember the good times with his partner. I remember the car rides, the stops at parks, their little dog that had pink bows in its hair. But yet I wasn't to talk of those memories. So through my journey, and I'm now 47, through my journey, I truly believe many people have been placed in my life to help me understand. Was this meaning my father, who was part of an underground Catholic community in Toledo, Ohio, and a devout Christian, did this mean he was going to be in hell? Did this mean I'd ever see him again in hopes that I had to see some other deceased relatives? And processing that through the years. I remember locking myself in the bathroom in college and crying when people outside in the college party were gay bashing. And finally, I had a dear friend that came out of the closet my senior year in college. And so I had someone that I could learn from safely and talk to about it. Still didn't talk much about it, other than those that I felt closest and safe with. Had some colleagues at work and some other pretty progressive individuals over the years. And then I met Malachi Garza, who did some work on juvenile justice reform and making sure that we were meeting the needs of young lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, non-heterosexual youth. And this work was really new. He had said to me, where are all the gay children in the justice system? And we looked at him as a pretty progressive county in Lucas County, Ohio, and said, well, we're not seeing them. They're not really here. We've had a few, but we're not seeing them. And he said, they're couch surfing somewhere. They've been kicked out of their homes. They are somewhere in Toledo. Where are they? And I remembered those feelings of shame, and it hurt, knowing that some children were facing that. We had one youth then that ran to us at the court and the assessment center, because her family had surrounded her car with baseball bats because she could not be a lesbian or identify as something other than heterosexual. And we were her safe haven. They wanted to put her in detention because we didn't know what else to do with her. And there was a deputy that stood up and said, no, We are not criminalizing this. We can't criminalize sexuality, gender identity, expression. This is not a criminal act. Thank goodness for that deputy who was willing to come get me and see what else we could do. That led me to working with Kim Welter in Equality, Ohio, as well as Dr. Angela Irvine, to train our staff on the SOGI initiative and be one of the first courts in the nation to start asking questions of children and helping them if they were identifying as something other than heterosexual or straight. I remember our first training sessions with staff. Staff were extremely uncomfortable. If we ask them this question, will it make them gay? If we ask them this question, what will happen next? Will it give them ideas? Are we planting ideas in their heads? And it opened up conversations with my own children. And they said, Mom, this is not something that is an issue for kids to talk about it. We have gay friends and pangender friends and transsexual friends in our classrooms, and it's okay. We know about it. It's an adult issue. You're the ones that don't want to talk about it. So we continued with the training of our staff and kind of walk them through that it's okay to ask these questions. Just like if you ask a child if he or she is suicidal, if they're not suicidal, you're not going to make them suicidal. We want to capture children and work with children who may be looking for some support. So ask the question. And the results were amazing. Dr. Irvine can speak to the best of those. But that population that Malachi Garza raised her hand about was almost 20% of our population was identifying as something other than heterosexual and straight. And so how do we best serve? I'm honored to start working with Sheena at Equality Ohio in Northwest Ohio to be able to truly serve our community. We've seen lots of people pop up and try to serve and then only to retreat because maybe the ridicule has been too much. The work is not done. But as we're identifying that yes, this population exists, and I can attest, it is not a new problem. It's not a problem. We are not planting seeds in children's head. My father was gay in 1980, or however he would have chosen to identify. I never got to ask him that question. He was gay in 1980 though. This is not a new thing. And how can we help support others? I personally believe in my new position at the Art Tatum Zone, which is a Christian-based organization, and I am a Christian. We need to love first. It is not our place to judge. How do we love others? How do we support others? It doesn't matter if someone identifies as gay, transgender, pangender. It doesn't matter. How do we love the individual? How do we support other people? And so for that reason, I'm really proud to accept this award today. I thank others who have helped me along my journey. This is a growth process. I'm still growing and learning every day. And I hope that by being open about my father's journey, which really I didn't talk about much until I started training for sexual orientation and gender identification and expression, was the first time I talked about it publicly. I'm hoping that some of that story can help others and help others understand that just because a child might say he or she is gay or he or she is transgender, it's not an issue that's new. It's not an issue at all. It is who they are. It is their being, and we need to extend our love to every individual. Hopefully, we will continue along the road of progressing and being inclusive of everyone and helping those that may not really understand or think that people are choosing this or think that it is some source of evil. Hopefully it'll help others understand that we are humans. We all are seeking love. We all deserve to be loved. and we all should love. And I can say, I know my father loved me as best as he could. And I have very fond memories of visits with him. And I just want to honor his memory, especially since even really as recent as a couple years ago during his mother's funeral, his name wasn't even mentioned. So Donald Jean Cashin, I accept this award in your honor. Thanks, Dad, for helping open my eyes, even in your absence and through this journey. Well, I think going to Equality Ohio here in Northwest Ohio is a great place to get connected with my fellow ally Sheena, or with Nick Comives on City Council, but also just speaking out in your own community. I have spoken out, and I will continue to do so in my Christian community, and helping others understand why I believe that love first is the way any Christian should act in trying to understand sexual orientation and gender identity if they haven't really thought about it before. But being willing to speak out where you are. And even within my own family, that can be pretty difficult because not all my family members want to speak out. In fact, some of them want to do quite the opposite. Regardless of your religious orientation, I would challenge everyone, if they're able to, maybe seek out a different religious organization that may hold many of your same views, but that's accepting. There are many Christian churches out there that are accepting and aren't going to condemn. As I said, in 1980, my father was part, and I just learned this literally at my grandmother's funeral a few years ago. My father was part of an underground Catholic church here in Toledo, Ohio, of all gay men in 1980. So core values are something that I think develop over time in everyone. And it's a soul-searching process. But if you see someone that has similarly situated values and a similar situation, they can help guide you through that. And so I am hoping that by being an outspoken Christian who also believes that we need to love everyone, that others may speak out. I know I have several friends that have those same beliefs, and that we can be that bridge to help bring people together instead of being divisive. Well, one, I'm a data lover and a research lover, so connect with people who have some of the facts and learn from them, because it will take you a long way in your growth process in helping move others in the growth process. And be willing to have conversations with people that are different than you. Sit down with someone else that doesn't look, act, or speak in the same way you do, and learn from them. Learn what their struggle has been and what their life has been like, because you may never know until you ask. And take those stories and act compassionately, listen, learn. And every day is a learning experience, because no two stories are the same. No two stories of any heterosexual person are the same. No two stories of any non-heterosexual person are the same. So learn from others. So when we talk about hearts, I mentioned my friend and one of my mentors, Malachi Garza, and I realized even in the video, I first referred to Malachi as he, and then I referred to Malachi as she. And I've had a lot of questions. People get hung up on gender pronouns and asking what gender pronoun someone prefers. And I've asked Malachi many times, and he does not have a preference. He has made that clear. In fact, he finds it interesting to see how people might identify him. But I have noticed that I use the terms interchangeably, and thankfully he's okay with that. And I don't know why I do it. And I think I do it out of love, maybe because of I consider him such a close friend, almost like one of my closest girlfriends, that when I'm sharing some of those heartfelt moments, I refer to him as she, and sometimes I refer to him as him. And for him, that's okay. But I wanted to make sure that people, if they caught that in my acceptance speech, aren't necessarily offended by that, because Malachi and I have had that conversation. And I would just ask that anyone, regardless of how they identify, if you are talking to and speaking with an ally and they seem confused about something, or they may not be using the right gender pronoun, please just gently approach us, because I know so many people are really trying their best to love in the best way that we can, and so many are learning along the lines.